Oh, first, it's great to be back, of course. Coach Prime's effect is beyond words when it comes to this institution where I've had so much success with my teammates, with some of you that may have been here and saw it at one time. He's really come in and kind of re-energized, I think, how we think about football here at CU. It's like there was a plug that was sitting on the floor next to the socket. And someone had to be brave enough to put it in the wall to get this thing lit up again. And while I know some are waiting to say, see, I told you so, or for there to be a mistake, that's a part of the game. I'm not concerned about that part. The part I love is this community is in the mix with loving the Buffs again. When you sell out a spring game, literally sell out a spring game. I got friends that went to school down in Atlanta where I live, asking me, can they get a ticket to come to the game? And they ain't never come nowhere past the Mississippi, okay? And to have that energy, because we all know, over the years, what was the most significant play we've seen in the month of September and the very beginning of the season? It's the Hail Mary pass, right? We have some conversations about the players prior to that, like the national championship team, but that was one play in particular that we can honestly say that we remember the most. Which we had a national championship team that went to national championship 2 years in a row. And they need to be acknowledged too as well. I think what Coach Prime is doing with all the players coming back, it's well overdue. Well overdue. And to now know that guys want to come back. They're asked to come back. They're needed to come back. Because if you think about that 87 year and 88 year went to Liberty Bowl, and then we go to 2 national championship games, and then it kind of makes a run to like 2000 or so, as far as winning on a consistent basis. That's the energy we're fighting for right now. And I think Coach Prime has done a magnificent job of helping us in this community and people around the country understand that, as I was saying a second ago before I came on, it's like a big ant pile that's been mounting and mounting and mounting. And he came in and took his foot and steadied it right in the middle of that thing. And we know what happens with ant pile, right? Stuff just goes crazy. Ants are going all over the place. You look at what we're doing with our paraphernalia, we're second in the country. Haven't taken a snap yet when it comes to our paraphernalia in this country. When it comes down to the transfer portal, we're number 1. When it comes down to the 23 class that's coming in, we're in the top 25. When it comes down to ticket sales, we sold out. I said that already. Hotels is up 50% rate. Why? We won 11 last year. So if anyone's asking, we need to see. If you're not watching the process and you're not paying attention, you're not here for the right reasons. You're here to see failure, which is based on our expectations have been taking place for a long time around here. So while guys have been working their butts off and trying to do the best they can, it still wasn't good enough. Not on this level and standard, in which I'm so familiar with, based on what Coach Matt gave us when I came in. So this is where we are. This is a time where you guys have a lot to write about. Check out your communication skills when it comes to how deep you can go into your writing. When it comes to tagging what this is all about, the narratives that you create. I'm watching, I'm reading. But it's good times, though. Right? Make sure story writing in newspapers, articles, things of that nature. Exciting. Because we're trying to figure out what's the problem. We haven't found one yet. That's why we just keep on going. That's what the process is.
What was, are you finished?
Oh, it was pretty good. I feel pretty good about that. Go ahead.
Good introduction.
Yes.
What was your relationship like with Coach Prime prior to this? Did you have a relationship with him?
I have a very, very good relationship, actually. First time meeting him was in the Super Bowl, because it was prime time versus Slash, because we can do so much. He just so added it's just so much to add. He added the offensive side just to try to show me out, right? It worked because they beat us in Super Bowl 30, Steelers versus the Cowboys. And then over time, we kind of stayed in, connection indirectly over time. And then we got to Baltimore together with the Ravens. Vacations and stuff together, talked to his kids through their process with the youth league, whether it's at Trinity, at the high school. And, We keep in touch literally on social media via text because we got a group of us that always talk all the time. When he went to Jackson State and did such a phenomenal job there, to the injury that he ended up having, and just making sure he was okay, because it's bigger than the game. It just kept on going. And we got the phone call when the opportunity came here, which I didn't know why he was calling about that. I just heard Auburn and USF in the mix because I'm down in the southeast area. What the heck is he calling me about Colorado? And I kind of gave him some inside stuff on what I thought we needed and needed to address. And he actually attacked it immediately. And here it is. He's asking me to come here today. And I've been here all week, but come here to be a part of it and see it and, give my 2 cents, and just be a part of it. So it's been pretty remarkable, to say the least, to be honest with you.
When Coach Prime the way that you do, what is it that makes him so successful as a coach?
His drive. I know sometimes when we bring coaches in here, and if you look at it overall, no disrespect, and it's not a bad thing, but this dude played it. He's done it. He's seen it. He's had the youth leagues. He's still with the Under Armour camps at the time in which he was getting these. And he always had the opportunity to identify talent. He was one of those talents that had to be identified, be a part of NFL Network. So you look at all of the things that he's done overall, it's kind of hard to say what he doesn't know when it comes to talent, but just look at the body of work. 2 Super Bowls, World Series, 2 Super Bowls, Trinity, Youth League, just winning across the board. To then going to Jackson State and having a chance to think conversations about Florida State, and to get his degree, obviously, and then he ended up going to Jackson State. To how he turned that program around, literally overnight. The buzz was tremendous. Kids started buying in. Before you know it, they won championship, gone to the championship game every year, pretty much. His son, Shedeur and Shiloh, intricate parts of their success. You say blood is thicker than water, right? So it's like that lineage, that legacy of those 2 young men helped build that program. And then Rick George, we all know, probably was on the hot seat in this community. After he built all this and did all this great stuff, he had to make some decisions, and the person came to mind was Brian. And I'm sure not too many thought he would come here thinking that this may not be his style based on what we know of him, which is he's outward with how he thinks and how he feels, and what he wants to do and what he needs to get done in order for it to be successful for his vision. And I think we've all been, victims of that as we speak.
Well, you know him. Did you think this, and you know Boulder,
right?
Did you think this was going to be his style?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm like, really? At first. I'm like, no, not in my school. I'm going from that space. I'm not thinking about Boulder. I'm thinking about the love affair that you guys know and see me back here or hear me back here, I have for this place. And I'm like, that dude? My university? I said, let's do it. Let's make it work. So when he called me, when hearing the information, I was like, no way. So then all of a sudden, I texted him and said, you liked it? And the way we talked to each other, I was like, whoa. And before you know it, before I could even really process it right, he ended up hearing that he accepted the opportunity. Good job. And I was like, let's get ready to rumble, bro. I mean, it's the good thing about that is they've been given the opportunity to work it, when it comes to the transfer portal. And it's not always just about the coaches, but it's also about the kids too. For those kids that jump in the portal and see something better for themselves, whether it's here or at any other institution, it benefits the kid from a comfort standpoint also. But then it gives the team a little leverage to maybe grab some kids that were maybe on the list to get, that finally became available, that may have gone to a USC or a Florida State or Minnesota. They see those guys and they got a second chance at maybe bringing them in. So it kind of works great both ways. It's just the ebb and flows of what you're able to do as far as the consistency is concerned with kids and getting them in and getting them out, you just hope you can find the right fit. That's the key, right? It's the fit. Even though the conversation may be great with the stars and the size, the measurables, it's the fit. And if you have a vision and an identity towards what it is you want to have or need, it's not hard to find those kids nowadays. Think about it. If we didn't have a transfer portal and we were going off of just what the kids we had and it wasn't working, and say we're lacking in numbers on the D-line, but we have more numbers at receiver, which we necessarily don't need because our top 4 or 5 are really, really, really good, but we need 1 or 2 D linemen. But we got 8 receivers, we can get rid of 2 maybe and fill those voids with D linemen. So now you're creating a balance a little bit to help you have depth. One area is not struggling. And then you can kind of go out and compete against the best of the best, because in the Pac-12, it's a copycat league, right, in a sense. All conferences kind of look the same when it comes to their top tier teams. So you look at USC, you look at UCLA, you look at Oregon. They're almost in Washington. They kind of look a little similar. Quarterback maybe a little bit better over here. You might have a better receiver over there. Look at the SEC. Alabama becomes the top tier, but then you start seeing LSU. Then you might see a little bit of Auburn, Georgia. Now they look like the Alabamas, right? So it becomes a copycat league within those conferences. And if you can find through the portal those kids that you need based on what your roster says you need, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I think it's a great thing. I come from the world of when you make that commitment, that's it. But for some of these kids who fall under that opportunity, it benefits them, but it also benefits the team. So it works hand in hand.
Hearing the pride and reverence with which you speak about this place in your voice right now, what was it like watching this team over the last 20 years or so?
Same energy, nothing changed. It was just you wanting to see more. But I still would come back and spend time with the program, speaking to the kids, whether it was going back to Rick Neuheisel, to Barnett, to Embry, to Hawkins, to McIntyre, Mel Tucker, Kordell, and now Prime. Named them all in the right order too. They're pretty good, right? Letting you know, paying attention a little bit. Met every last one of them, and wanted the best for every last one of them. It wasn't shy about letting people know that that's still my institution, and we're just going through a transitional state, and that's okay, right? But the tradition still lies, and I think the hunt for the right coach, when it came to, I think we had 3 ADs since I left, and Prime makes the 8th coach. Rick George is trying to find that diamond in the rough, so to speak. And he's done over the last 3 times which is another thing, African-American coaches that he thought may have fit the bill when it comes to attracting a certain kind of player. Because let's be transparent, this is Boulder, Colorado. All right, you look outside, there's nothing outside that says football. Okay? It says a great lifestyle, a beautiful place, worst case scenario. And when coming here, you have to want to be here. You have to want to be here. And when Max started that run of getting those certain kind of players mixed in with everything else, that's with that good mix of gumbo, if you will, all that good stuff. You throw the filet on top with a little bit of spices, you put it out on the field. That's a good meal. That's a good thing. So I like the direction that we're going in with this, honestly. It's not a spa. It's not a recreational center. We're not here for feel-good stories per se. We're here to win. And the stuff that we've seen over the years can resonate through you guys' story and also this program when that's not the bar. And so when we're competing on this level on the field, we need that throughout this entire ordeal, to where when they see us coming as they've done before, when we were doing it, it was a problem. And if that's not the case, then, we're at the mercy of foolishness, in my opinion. So And with this guy that we have in Coach Prime, that's unacceptable. That's not going to happen. I can promise you that.
What do you see out of Shedeur?
He's nice. He's really nice. This is my first time having a chance to see him live today in practice. He's really, really nice. He throws the ball on time. He puts it in areas where the guys can catch it. And when I say that, even if the DB hasn't covered, he finds that window, back shoulder throw, whatever, high or low or up high, to put it in there. And it's how can I say? It's refreshing to see it when not being able to see it over some time on a consistent basis in a practice. People would ask, do you think he can make it in the Pac-12? My question to those folks that ask that question, tell me about the Pac-12. We talk about the top tier, we may have a Heisman Trophy winner, Doak Award winner, so on like that. Which we know with USC, they got that last year. Tell me about the bottom tier. Worst case scenario, he's going to be better than that bottom tier. We get caught up into locations, HBCU, Division I AA. The question is, what are his numbers like? If you're good, you're going to play good regardless. Football is football at the end of the day. We get caught up into the powers that be in a sense of those areas. But you give me the bottom tier for the sake of conversation of the Pac-12. I'll let you guys answer that question. So if you're steadily going to championships every year, you're MVP within those conferences, and you're playing for the national championship every year you're starting, and your numbers are good numbers. Now, per capita, is the talent consistent across the board? Are they in the Pac-12? Are they in the SEC, ACC? Big Ten? It's just a matter of these guys coming together as quick as they can with all the movements that we have, transfer portal, so on and so forth, to try to find this, a whole bunch of body parts moving, but still one team mentality. Once they can get to that space, I think we're going to be competing with the best of them.
Also going to be plenty of your former teammates, other people from the 90s.
Yeah, those old guys are coming in town, man.
How exciting is that for you to see and just
I want to race everybody. I want to see. I still want to compete. You know, I want to see if I can beat somebody. You know, get a little cracking a little bit myself. But no, it's going to be great, man. The guys that I knew or knew of when I came in, from that '88 Liberty Bowl to the 2 consecutive national championship teams, to some of those guys playing a couple of years once I got here with me, it's going to be great to see them, man. Just talked to a group of guys, a whole bunch of guys coming from the '70s that was out on the field today. That is long overdue. You know? And to see that it is happening this way, that positive energy, it matters. You know? And so for me, I'm really excited, to say the least. And to know that this thing is going to be packed for a spring game, and knowing that the regular season is sold out. Come on. And I think these kids need to see that, though. You know, when they've never had a chance to feel what greatness is, and they hear that conversation and feel it, to then be able to go home and do some homework if they hadn't done any. Because it's a different time, it's a different climate right now for the kids that's playing ball nowadays. You know, it's more microwavable, if you will, in a sense. Because why? I can find you on social media. Coach Mack, Coach Simmons, they couldn't find me on social media. They had to come and knock on the door. I had to ask them for some film. And, you know, so to be found and get here and win the way we did, the life's a little bit easier for these kids. But to hear this energy and to feel it and have someone like Coach Prime around, that's that same old school mentality, it's going to be really good.
Matt Rule made some comments at Nebraska.
Say it again?
Matt Rule from Nebraska made some comments, their new head coach, about how he was looking forward to coaching his guys. Mm-hmm. Kind of maybe throwing some shade over here just to how many new pieces are here. Are you maybe looking forward to a re-energized rivalry then?
He ain't playing. He ain't taking a single snap. You know, so he's irrelevant when it comes to what that's going to be about between the white lines. So, you know, a little dry if that's what he said. So you got to get a little more.
What did that rivalry mean to you?
Oh, it was one of the greatest rivalries in all of football. I mean, you look at the Florida States, the Floridas, obviously the Nebraskas, Colorados. What else is out there?
Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah, LSU.
Yeah, the state of Alabama rivalry, Auburn, Alabama, LSU. Them too. I mean, it's kind of hard to talk about a bunch of rivalries because to the level in which ours was, that determined who would win the national championship in some cases. So, you know, it's the bragging rights with Auburn and Alabama in the state of Georgia. What is the Iron Bowl? Something like that. So it becomes, and of course the Stanford-Cal game I think still exists when it comes to the Pac-12 because of how crazy that game ended with the band running on the field. That was kind of crazy. But it's great to have this rivalry come back here. And if the coaches are saying certain things, that's cool too, because the game still has to be played. So I'll probably be here to see that.
Anything else for Kordell? College football's changing a lot since your time. You
Yeah.
touched on the transfer portal a little bit, NIL opportunities. Just
Yeah.
what are your general thoughts on all these kind of recent changes to the game?
You're talking about far as schemes and things like that?
No, just for the players, the opportunities to have the transfer
Yeah,
portal.
and the NIL and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, it's that's why you work so hard in the time in which you're playing for things like this to transpire. You know, it's a revolving door. You know, something's gonna happen eventually. The O'Bannon brothers, if you go back to basketball at UCLA and what they were fighting for, if you think about that. In my mind, that was the beginning stage as far as using their name and likenesses on the video games and so on and so forth, to where, you know, they wanted to be compensated. To where now, instead of having an issue, it's great that I think guys can get paid now. You know, if you're giving a boatload of money to institutions, but these kids only get stipend checks for a certain amount of money based on what the community says that they can afford to have, because they got to pay their rent and so forth. They're living off campus. You know, even to just having money in their pockets. These were some of the indirect things that we may have spoken about back then, but we made it work. We worked during the summer times and we stayed here and things like that. And we just lived together and made it work. But now that you see it happening, transfer portal, it's great for the game, man. You know, it gives these kids opportunities to really enjoy it and not feel so controlled, I'll use that word, so controlled with how they live their lives. Because they leave home in certain situations and circumstances, good, bad, or indifferent, to come here to be in school away from where you live and come from, to get paid to do the game. Especially you got the kids getting NILs in high school. You kidding me? I'm jealous.
All right, we need to let Kordell get going, but thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.